What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Ask a Brother podcast. Today, it's me, Dragon Wolf Tech,
Mr. Doja, old head extraordinaire.
and we're going to be talking about Godzilla King of the Monsters. Now, Godzilla King of the Monsters is a 2019 film in the long history of Godzilla movies, starting all the way back in 1954, I believe it was.
1954. Yes, sir, you are correct.
All right, the American version of that movie starred Raymond Burr, aka Perry Mason.
Remember that commercial with peanut butter?
Yeah. Um, this movie stars Kyle Chandler, Mr. Friday Night Lights himself,
Mm-hmm.
Vera Farmiga, that's Norman Bates' mama, Millie Bobby Brown, who was in, she's in, what's that show on Netflix? The real popular one, Stranger Things.
Ah, yeah. Yeah. The daughter, that's 11.
That's 11, right? And then Tywin Lannister himself, Charles Dance.
Yes, sir.
Thomas.
Also, fun fact,
Hmm.
Sadum Numsi from Golden Child.
Yes, you are a child of the 80s.
Yes, I am. And he was Benedict in Last Action Hero Arnold Schwarzenegger. Great movie. Anyway, go ahead.
Yes, it was. Also starring Thomas Middleditch from Silicon Valley, Aisha Hinds, who was in. I want to say she's in 911. That's a great show.
You know 911?
No, 911 on Fox. It's about the fire department and the police, LAPD.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, watch this. Just Google 911 tsunami episode.
I don't watch regular TV. Network TV is for the birds.
And starring Ken Watanabe and O'Shea Jackson Jr.
Good old Ice Cube son playing Ice Cube.
Look just like his daddy too.
Yes, sir. And this dude he had some good little comedy spots up in this movie. So yeah, he did his thing in this movie.
Yeah, he did. And it's funny because, a lot of people shit on this movie, but I love this movie. And
great, man.
A part of me thinks the people who didn't like it never watched all the old movies. Now, purists who don't like the way this Godzilla is designed have that they can argue. But as far as what happened and the interaction between Godzilla and all the monsters, it was straight out of the old 1960s, 1970s movies, as far as I'm concerned.
They stuck to the script. Now, this movie takes place 5 years, and the timeline takes place 5 years after the Godzilla that came out in 2014.
Right.
That movie was an actual shit show because they called it Godzilla, but he didn't show up to the end of the movie. There was a lot of little roaches on stilts walking around the whole movie looking for, nuclear stuff to eat up so they can procreate and all this good stuff. The movie, it wasn't a good movie. It wasn't well put together.
Right.
So the director of that movie was supposed to direct this one, but he got the boot and they ended up getting a new director. And
Thank God.
Director, huh?
Thank God.
Yes. And this director actually, Gareth Edwards was the original director and then they gave him the boot. So the new director actually rewrote the whole script and gave us what we have now.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm so glad he did.
So this is legendary, films. They're the ones that put out 300, and so this is their MonsterVerse.
Yeah. Now, just to backtrack a little, the director of this one was Michael Daltrey.
Michael Daltrey. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Nice. All right. So they also put out. Legendary does a lot of I guess you can say big movies, but they also do some relatively small things. Like they did Black Klansman, and they did Warcraft, which another movie that I didn't have a problem with.
Yeah, we will be having a show on, going over that movie eventually. But that was
Well,
I like that movie. That movie was good to me.
yeah. Well, okay. So, as a person who's played Warcraft since Burning Crusade,
Never played in my life, but go ahead.
okay, I saw why people didn't like that movie, but for what it wasn't a bad movie. Let me say it like that.
And then being a person who never played Warcraft, but I'm familiar with the concept in the game and things of that nature, but never playing the game, I don't know what everybody's problem was with the movie. It was a great movie to me. It was a really good movie.
One more movie we'll mention. Legendary did Pacific Rim, which I was hoping they would say is what this is like the prequel to that, is what I was kind of hoping because of the whole kaiju thing. Now, before Pacific Rim, I had never heard the term kaiju before, but apparently that's the term for giant monsters.
Well, if you watch the previous Godzilla movies, kaiju is Japanese for monster.
Right. Well, the original movies or the 2014?
The original movies, the movies from back in the day.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't like they was like, oh, it's another kaiju. It's like they had say it like in conversation, like when they're in a boardroom or whatever.
Yeah,
they will mention it.
Well, you know what it was is because those old movies, like kaiju is a Japanese word, right? So you're not gonna have an American movie in the 1960s, using authentic Japanese words. It's just they didn't care that much.
Exactly. But
so,
but for a lot of people who are not familiar with the original movies, you would not have heard the word kaiju prior to Pacific Rim.
Right.
So, but so yeah, so and what's another fun fact about this is the 35th Godzilla movie in the franchise.
That's right.
So that's including, him versus whoever, him by himself. So this is 35 movies over the past 60 some odd years.
Now, it's interesting about Godzilla, and this plays into what we're going to talk about. When Godzilla first showed up, he was just wrecking stuff.
In the old movies.
Right. And he was just he would be the quote unquote bad guy.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until other things started showing up that Godzilla became what we would consider a good guy. Because like when Ghidorah showed up, what's his name? How do they pronounce it in this?
King Ghidorah?
Yeah, Ghidorah. But they pronounce Ghidorah. When Ghidorah showed up. Now, and for as long as I can remember, it was King Ghidorah. I don't know when we started saying Ghidorah, but I'll go with it.
We want to go there and say Last Airbender? Ong
versus Aang.
Come on.
Well, we said Aang.
It was always Aang. It was Aang in the cartoon. But okay, we're not going to go off that. Leave alone. That was another shit show that we will not discuss at this time in present.
That movie does not exist.
Wow. Yeah.
Anyway. That was 2 hours. I'll never get back.
So yeah.
Okay.
So, and you guys, please excuse me, but I will be referring to King Ghidorah as KG.
KG.
Because this is King Ghidorah is a tongue twister. So,
that's the thing, though. In this movie, they call him or it by its name, Ghidorah, whatever you want to say, but they don't expressly say King Ghidorah.
Hold on.
But they do reference King.
Actually, when they first wake him up, they called him Monster X because they didn't know what it was.
Monster Zero.
No, Monster X. Or was it Monster Zero?
Monster Zero.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, I can roll with Monster Zero. I admit when I'm wrong. I don't care.
But that's just what they called him because they didn't know what it was. They just knew it was it was basically it's a Hydra. That's what Ghidorah is.
Yes, it is. It's a Hydra. 3-headed monster. Right. Now, one thing that I did, just like you said, in the before Godzilla was wrecking shop or whatever, in every other Godzilla movie, and then he'll come, save the day when another monster comes to town or whatever. But one thing I did dig about this movie, so the main monsters in this movie were Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan, and King Ghidorah.
Right.
So the one thing I really loved about this movie is the fact that they stuck to the fact that Godzilla and Mothra were fighting together against those monsters.
Right, they were a team.
This is not the first time Mothra and Godzilla teamed up on other occasions.
Yeah.
Because actually in Mothra's movie, he was actually against Godzilla, but he didn't kill him. He kind of just shoot him away like, take these petals, go somewhere, you know.
Well, now okay, so you had Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan, Ghidorah, and then you saw sprinklings of other monsters that were going to be either in the old, already out movies or maybe in the next one.
Well, I happen to get you a list of those monsters. So the ones that actually were on camera, besides the ones that we already know, from the previous movie, which come to find out they were actually in this movie also, Mute. Those three little roach on stilts.
Yeah, those roach looking things.
They were called Mute.
Yeah.
And then you saw this thing that looks kind of like gorilla, woolly mammoth with the tusk.
Mm-hmm.
That's Behemoth.
Okay.
And then they had the giant spider. That was Scylla. And then the other monsters, they kind of mentioned them in the movie, not by name, but like the news would flash different stuff coming out the ground or whatever from Russia and all over the world and stuff, the other Titans that were coming up. They name them in the script, but they're never seen on film.
Okay.
So you don't have to go through all that. But King Kong.
Well, now this is so this is the fourth film in the legendary MonsterVerse, or the third film, because you had Godzilla, and then you had Kong Skull Island, and you had this. And the next one's going to be Kong versus Godzilla. Yeah,
which is supposed to come out this year, but I haven't heard anything about it.
I kind of doubt it will. I mean, it's scheduled for November 20th, which gives them some time, but usually you see some type of at least teaser by now. So, because I mean, Star Wars does a teaser almost a year in advance.
But that's Disney, though, bro.
Yeah, that's true. But still,
they want you to buy the merch. They ain't worried about.
You can at least give me a poster with a footprint.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that point later. I'm not going to jump too far ahead. Okay, so the movie starts out with, the family in another country poking around and doing things that those people do that us normal folk in the States don't do. Go around nosing around in jungles and things. But they got their kids with them. Well, their kid with their daughter with them. So it's Dr. Russell, Mrs. Dr. Russell, and then little daughter Russell.
Russell?
Yeah, the Russells. So then, the army comes up or whatever. So pretty much what they're trying to do is locate Godzilla and find out where he went after the events of the 5 years ago.
Right.
So again, it's the government and the military poking their nose in things they need not be poking their nose into, stirring up all kind of madness, and this happens.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, the Tywin's character is he's supposed to be like some type of ego terrorist, right?
The movie he plays in.
He plays the same character all the time.
Hey,
it's gonna
put in the box.
It's gonna turn out that he's actually the devil, like the golden child.
Exactly.
Yes,
sweet brother Noomsy.
So he and Vera Farmiga's character, the mother, are going to basically wake up the Titans with the idea that they're going to restore balance to the world.
Now, hold on. Let me stop you there. Before she gets involved, she has this box. Okay, so when the movie starts out, they're waking up Mothra.
Mm-hmm.
So she has this contraption she configured that can have a certain frequency that speaks to the Titans.
Right.
So Mothra hatches. She starts messing with frequencies. He doesn't like the first couple. He starts spitting stuff at her and wilding out, and they're about to nuke him. And then she was like, no, let me. So then she finally get the frequency. Daughter high fives him on the forehead. Mm-hmm. And then we cut to, his name is Jonah. That's who Noomsy plays.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm gonna be. These people are gonna be who I want them to be. So Mama Russell and Noomsy, he actually kidnaps her. Or snatches her up or whatever and stuff, and the daughter kind of tags along and she ends up with him. And then when he explains to her what needs to happen, then she was like, oh yeah, I'm with you, we need to do this. And the husband's like, oh, you took my wife, let me find her, you know. And again, that's when Lil Cube come into play.
Well, it's a little bit, it's actually worse than that, because as the movie progressed, you'll find out that all of this was actually her idea. You know, because what happened was, after their son died in San Francisco in 2014, she basically lost her mind.
Yeah, but her intention was to kill him, not to keep him alive and bring him up so they can change the world, until he talked to her.
Wow. I think it's more of a, this is what I tell you, I think, but what I really think is I want this whole thing to burn down because I done lost it.
Dude.
But
she's so fallible.
So they wake up Mothra, and of course, well, Mothra escapes actually as they're attacking that facility.
Yeah.
The next person to show up is did Godzilla show up before?
Godzilla, because remember they were in the sea lab.
Right, and
looking
Godzilla
for
was
him, and
under
they
the
couldn't
water.
find him, and then they saw his little body flash in the distance.
Yeah.
And then he popped up and slid by him and, you know, shook him up or whatever, and then he disappeared.
Yeah,
but
that was pretty cool because you saw his back flash in the distance.
Yeah.
And then it kept getting closer.
But
closer. And then it just swam right past him. That was great.
What's funny is that when they went looking for him and he was on the radar and then he disappeared, and the homeboy was like, he's going down in the caves down in the sea and he's just maneuvering and swimming through caves. We can't find him. I was like, dude. So he's in there playing Duck, Duck, Goose in caves, so y'all can't find him. Come on, man. Don't be smarter than the monster. Come on, bro.
Playing possum.
Exactly. Be smarter than the monster.
So they find Godzilla, and at the same time, Jonah and his men are attacking a facility in Antarctica.
Yes.
So that facility is actually where Ghidorah was.
Ghidorah.
Okay.
Come on, bro. Come on, bro. KG. Come on. Give me something.
Ghidorah.
Come on, man.
All right. So that's where he was. And they basically let him out. Right. So as he's getting his facilities about him, you know, three-headed monster, have to shake off a lot of cobwebs. Godzilla shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And they start fighting. Mm-hmm. Now, you guys are going to notice we're not going to be talking. We haven't mentioned much about the humans because, quite frankly, the humans don't matter in this movie.
They're just in the way.
They're in the way.
Stirring shit up.
Now, one thing, though, that I found very interesting about the backstory for this movie is that a lot of people complain that the 2014 movie, there wasn't a lot of Godzilla. There wasn't a lot of monsters. There was a lot of talking and a lot of dialogue between people.
Well, it was a lot of the roaches on stilts. That's what the movie
pretty much was about. They showed a lot of them,
about.
True, but they didn't show hardly any Godzilla.
No, and then when they found out that one can fly,
right. Well, so what the producers and creators of this one said is, we're going to give you so much Godzilla, you're going to scream.
That's why for the poster is Godzilla looking in the air, shooting the blue flame.
That's right. You're going to get all the Godzilla you can stomach.
Exactly.
So Godzilla and Ghidorah fight. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting about Ghidorah in this one, that I don't recall if they ever addressed it in the old ones, but his heads can grow back.
Yeah, he's a Hydra, yeah.
Right?
They didn't mention it in the old ones, no. Because remember, they're using CGI now. Back then, it was a dude in a costume or wires.
Yeah, they never. So, yeah. That's true. Well, and that's why it's always interested me when people would complain about the way they look now. I'm like, well, what are you basing it on? The old ones from the 60s? That's you wanted to look like that?
Yeah, but I like the fact that they stuck to, like, when they gave Godzilla, which they did it in the last movie at the end, but he had to get charged up to get it. But he just started out with the lightning or electricity starting from his tail up to the top of his head, and then he blowing out the blue magic.
Yeah,
man. So let me get to the fight part. Okay. So I want y'all to hold on to your cheeks. So Ghidorah is putting the three-headed hands on Godzilla. He giving them the business.
Mm-hmm.
And then Godzilla charges himself up like the OG he is. He dodges Ghidorah. Well, he charges up. He shoots the blue flame at him. Ghidorah dodges it, and then hits him with all three mouths at the same time. And Godzilla's like, "Oh, it bites! It bites!
It bites!"
Woo! He lit him up. And then Godzilla's electric flame thing is blue, and Ghidorah's is electric yellow.
Yeah,
and it's beautiful, especially in CGI. Oh man, the CGI is amazing. But in HD, I gotta see it IMAX, bro. Oh.
Nah, let me see this thing in 4K.
Oh yeah. No doubt.
But so they're fighting, and like we said, the humans are in the way. And it's the part that got me about it was Godzilla. It looked like Ghidorah was a lot bigger than Godzilla.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that too. He looked like he was 3 times bigger when he first did the shadow.
Yeah,
Godzilla over here,
massive
Ghidorah
compared
lifted
to
the wings
Godzilla.
up, man. I thought he was like 3 times bigger than Godzilla.
But then towards the end, they kind of looked the same size.
Yeah, that's because he was moving. But they based his movements, Ghidorah's movements of his heads on a cobra.
Yeah.
They didn't use it as a drag, but his visual and the way he looked, they based off the dragons in freaking Game of Thrones.
Yeah. He did look like Khaleesi's kids.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if you noticed it though when he first showed up and like fully showed himself.
Mm-hmm.
His tail rattled.
I did not notice that.
Yeah, I was looking at it and I was like, why is he making that noise? And his tail shook behind him and it sounded kind of like a rattle. I was like, interesting.
But you know what's funny, dude? Watching this movie, like again after seeing it, I watched it plenty of times before, but watching it this last time, and dude, when he hit Godzilla with them 3, I was like, "Now goes Fraser! Now goes Fraser!" Oh man, this movie is so amazing, man. I enjoy watching it.
Now, in the humans' defense, though, they did actually have some pretty cool tech. Like I love that air carrier they had.
Rodan was like, "Come here, let me show you what air supremacy looks like. Come here."
Right. Well, no, he jacked up their fighters. I mean, that was ridiculous.
Dude, that tornado spin move he did when he was knocking planes out the air.
Yeah, that was cool.
Well, and what part? Well, one thing about about Rodan I didn't understand was so he emerged from a volcano,
right?
And him coming out was due to after KG defeated Godzilla, he screamed in the air, and the monster started coming out the woodworks.
Well, no, he came out before that actually.
So, no, you're right, because Mrs. Dr. Russell used her little switchboard thing and brought him out the volcano. So you're right.
Yeah.
But what I didn't understand about that is that his body was on fire. But when he flew over stuff or hit stuff or whatever, nothing burnt up. It just like knocked over or
blew over.
Yeah. But I'm like, dude, he's on fire. Why in the hell is he not burning people? Like when he flew over those people in the city, I was like, oh, they're about to be crispy. Nope.
Right. Well, the other thing is, if he's a fire monster, why doesn't he breathe fire?
Even in the old movies, it was all about, because in the old movies he used to flap his wings and blow stuff down. This one he kind of flies over it, and
that's true.
So, he's not a breather. He's a pteranodon.
Yeah, that's true.
He's a big ass fiery pteranodon.
Yeah, that's true.
Ooh, you know what I just thought about?
What?
You remember on G-Force when the plane transmuted into the fiery phoenix? That's what he kind of looked like. Okay, I'm sorry, 80s baby. Sorry.
Now you gotta explain that.
Another podcast. Okay. So then once
Google G-Force, people.
Yes.
Actually, Google G-Force or Battle for the Planet.
Battle for the Planet. That's what I was gonna say. Okay, so once Rodan comes out of the volcano, then the humans started realizing that they said this storm is shifted and starting to head towards this direction. Come to find out, KG put this cloud or fiery something around him that looks like a storm, and he's heading towards Rodan. Right. So from reading the description of the movie, Ghidorah wasn't never supposed to be king of anything. He was not supposed to. Now, he was supposed to exist, but he was supposed to be an underling like the rest of the monsters to Godzilla. Godzilla is supposed to be the king of monsters. So, because he was the biggest, baddest dude on the block.
Right.
And then, but when they woke him up, he was stronger than I guess they anticipated and kicked Godzilla's ass. So then he became the king of the monsters. So he called all the monsters to him, but he didn't want them to run him. He wanted to eat them so he can get more powerful. He was sucking their energy and their essence out. So he was feeding on all the other titans, so he become bigger and stronger. And so, yeah, so, but Rodan wasn't having it. He was like, nah, bro, we got to catch this fade.
Right.
Because remember, Rodan, before Ghidorah showed up, Rodan was chasing after the humans. That's when the whole thing with him blowing up the planes and trying to catch the big carrier and all that stuff. Right. And then they almost ran into KG, and then they dived down or whatever. And then they started fighting.
Yeah, and they did fight.
Dude, the illest part is when KG grabbed him by both wings with two of the heads.
Oh, yeah.
Hit him in the chest with the middle one. Oh, man. Ooh, he lit him up. He was like, ha, give me this, give me this. Ah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, you know, very few monster movies allow the monsters to have personality. And all of these monsters have personality. You know.
And then shortly thereafter that, after King Ghidorah kicked Rodan's behind, Godzilla pops back up and they had a fight in the water. And that didn't go too well for Godzilla either.
Yeah, because those lovely humans who are always in the way decided to launch a neutron bomb at them. And well, that's how we discovered that Ghidorah wasn't of this earth.
Yeah. So the weapon that they used, which they launched it, and then they told them, hey, it's a missile coming your way, by the way. It was an atmosphere destroyer.
Yeah.
So pretty much it is what it sounds like. So anything, once it explodes, it destroys all the atmosphere around anything in a 2-mile radius. So if you're of us, you know, we need air and all that stuff. If everything around us disappears, then we're all going to die.
Right. Well, that's why when it hit the water, all those fish came up because of the fish breathe and underwater.
Yeah. So
Godzilla took a hit. Ghidorah just jumped out of the water like, what? And
but remember, before the thing hit, Godzilla had snatched one of his heads off.
Yeah, it did.
And he had one of his heads in his mouth before the thing hit.
Yeah.
So then, but prior to that, no, you're right. Okay, go ahead. So, so they did the bomb, and then so they was like, okay, where's Godzilla? Because Ghidorah got up, and his other head grew back, and he flew off into the sunset. And Godzilla, they had his heart beating in the water, kind of faintly beating in the water, and then it stopped. So they was like, dang, our boy's gone.
Right.
So then come to find out, the reason why they couldn't find him then, the same reason they couldn't find him when they were looking for him, he swam down into one of his little secret caves.
Okay, that wasn't a cave, that was a building.
He was laying in there posted up, dog, like, man, I'm about to be out.
Yeah, I'm chilling. Gonna get a little tan.
Y'all tap me out.
So
throwing the towel, coach.
So Ken Watanabe's character, who is Godzilla faithful ever since the first one, went down there with a nuke to try to revive Godzilla because Godzilla was born of atomic energy. So he kills him. He sacrifices himself in order to revive Godzilla. Now, when Godzilla comes back, of course, Godzilla's ready to fight, but Ghidorah whoops his ass again. And
what's funny, not to cut you off, but what's funny is that when they saw Godzilla for the first time after he came back, they was like, has he been lifting weights? Because he was way bigger than he was before.
Yeah. Well, he also looked pissed off.
Yeah, he's kind of upset.
But then he fights Ghidorah again. They're in Boston now. And because Titans have been waking up all over the world since Ghidorah basically won in Mexico. Yeah. So that's when you start seeing the shots of Titans waking up and destroying cities all over the world. And so he and Godzilla fight again. He gets the best of Godzilla, but then Mothra shows up. So then Mothra is distracting Ghidorah while Godzilla is trying to get back up, but then Rodan shows up. And so Rodan and Mothra start fighting, and Mothra gets the better of Rodan.
But before then, Rodan was whooping his ass.
Sure.
And what was it? Did you see what it was that Mothra, the little surprise he had for him?
That
stinger.
The stinger.
Yes, sir. You wasn't expecting that. Rodan was like, huh?
The hell?
You look, and the stinger went right through his body and was a wrap.
Yeah. So, but then Mothra tries to go help Godzilla fight Ghidorah, and Ghidorah lights her up.
But what it was, if you notice, she sacrificed herself.
She did.
Because when she destroyed, her essence went into Godzilla.
And that's when he became Super Godzilla.
That's when he became Super Saiyan Godzilla.
Right. Which actually, if you think about it, he didn't get Super Godzilla when Homeboy detonated the nuke. That just woke him up.
Yeah, but remember, dude said that he was like a nuclear bomb. So when KG took him into the air and dropped him, hit the ground, that ripple effect or whatever, he was on the verge of blowing up.
Yeah.
But when Mothra sacrificed herself and he got what she had, he was still kind of getting the hands, but that's when the Ghidorah wrapped him up and started sucking his power out of him. And then what Dr. Russell do, put on a little boombox, do the frequency to distract him, and then Godzilla turned into Super Saiyan.
All right, all glowing red, and then they didn't breathe fire as much as he just shot out radiation.
Yeah.
In all directions.
And then he breathed fire.
Then he breathed fire, yeah.
Yeah.
So they so he basically just kills Ghidorah at that point. I mean, they fight for a little bit longer, but there's nothing really Ghidorah can do to him now. So he rips off two of his heads, and then he steps into his chest.
And then the illest part of the movie, when he had his head in his mouth and he blew out the stuff.
Yeah.
The blue magic.
Looks like he was puffing out a joint.
Then when he was done and the hair disappeared, he kind of like chewed a little bit and electric stuff went across his teeth. I was like, oh, that's dope.
Yeah. Well, then the other Titans showed up and they all started bowing to him.
They all started bowing to the king.
That's right.
The king, bitch.
Now, at the end, when the credits started to roll and they were playing Godzilla's theme song, I didn't know he had a theme song, but okay.
Yeah, dude, it's in the script, man. They got a whole song. They got the words to it and everything.
Yeah, I'm gonna make that my ringtone. So it turns out that the Titans and their other Titans are waking up, and the world's changing based on them waking up, and they're all heading towards Skull Island, where King Kong is.
Yep.
So that's supposed to be our lead up to our next movie, Godzilla versus Kong, and the way this movie ends, the very last scene, is the credits are before the main credits is a picture of Godzilla fighting King Kong, and hieroglyphs.
Exactly.
Right, or cave etchings, I should say.
Now, did you watch to the end of the actual credits?
Yeah, when Tywin got that head.
Yeah, Ghidorah's head. So I got a feeling Ghidorah's going to be back.
Yeah, probably.
But what they were saying as far as the description and what it's kind of leading up to with the monsters heading to Skull Island is that it's going to be another big monster fight.
Well, because there's still monsters on Skull Island that.
Well, no, I'm talking about between the monsters that's headed to Skull Island, because you got to think about it. Godzilla's the king.
Yeah.
So my underlings are going to go over here and prove to, you got to prove to me that y'all bad or whatever. Go and handle this, my lightweight over here.
Right.
But we all know King Kong ain't no punk.
All right. Well, you got Godzilla maybe king of the monsters, but King Kong was king before Godzilla showed up.
It is.
So I've been king since the 20s.
Oh, it's king.
They had to shoot me off a building to stop me. What you got? So the humans though, they're little Easter eggs for the humans. So like the Ken Watanabe's character and the lady he was working with, the what's her name, Zhang, I believe her name is in real life. She and her sister, she has twin sisters. They're third generation monarch operatives, and so they're supposed to be those two Japanese ladies from the original movies that talked to Mothra.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, the little because Mothra was supposed to be some type of alien in the original movies. They didn't.
No, he wasn't an alien. He was from Earth, but he was like a freak like King Kong, pretty much. So every couple of centuries, a new one would hatch.
Right.
And they were in the little twins. Their ancestors took care and watched over the original ones, and that's just something they did over generations. And it was their turn to have their Mothra.
Okay, yeah.
And then in the old movies, they talked at the same time and everything. It was weird.
Yeah, she's have to correct myself. She's Chinese and she's not Japanese.
Okay.
But but those characters are supposed to be those characters.
Okay. I was wondering that it makes sense now. I was wondering, twins, so they're not little,
right? Well, but see, that's the thing about that's the difference between these movies and those movies. Those movies are very tongue in cheek, and these are actually playing for serious. The one scene that probably annoyed me the most, though, was okay, the family drama actually got in the way because we could have just had the mom and the daughter and drop the dad, or have the dad and the daughter and drop the mom.
Yeah.
But there was just way too much family melodrama going on there. And I think that's why I toned them out and just focused on the monsters.
Well, the movie was about the monsters, even though Dr. and Mrs. Russell was the one who was kind of bringing them out initially.
Mm-hmm.
But it was pretty much about them. So, because you remember Dr. Russell, the dad, was filming Animals in the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
You remember the lions were eating the gazelle or whatever they were eating when they picked him up? Yeah. So, their specialties in different fields just leads back to that Matthew Broderick catastrophe of a Godzilla movie. He was a worm guy. And they needed him to help them figure out stuff about Godzilla, and his expertise, be it about worms, helped them figure out that it was a asexual female who was breeding on her own and laying eggs in freaking Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, that one.
Well, we don't have to talk about it. I just brought it up to prove a point that even though he was studying animals in the wild, his expertise helped the military with finding Godzilla and figuring out what was going on and where he was going, because he's the one that had all the answers pretty much.
Yeah. But see, the problem though with a lot of these movies and monster movies in general is that monster movies, for some reason, want to act like they live in a world where people don't know what this stuff is.
Men in Black.
Well, basically, right?
Yeah.
So, like, for example, you don't know, okay, this dude shows up, he only shows up at night, and he has sharp teeth. What do you think he is?
Boogeyman.
Right? But okay, you guys don't know what a vampire is? I mean, that part of the book got cut out? What?
It doesn't happen in Brooklyn. It only happens in Transylvania.
Right. So, you see a big dinosaur looking thing. You don't really have to go that far to figure out what it is. It's a dinosaur with spikes on his back.
But he's not a Tyrannosaurus because his arms are too long.
Yeah, that's true. But he's much bigger than what you would assume a dinosaur would be, though.
Well, yeah, as far as scale, but the type of dinosaur he is, he's an iguanodon.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I like this movie. It was
dope, man. It was full of action, and then it's a trip too because the budget on the movie was about $200 million, and in the box office it raked in 380 something $million.
Yeah, it's a
So
certified hit. Well, it's funny to me because people are like, oh, it was there's some people who actually say it was a flop, and I'm like, well, it's a very high paying flop, you know.
they got their money back hand over fist, but yeah, sure, it's a flop.
Yeah, it's a flop, and it's funny because Toho is I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that right, but Toho, Toho, is the company that actually came out with Godzilla back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And they still do the Japanese distribution for Godzilla movies. Now, it's going to be interesting, though, because King Kong isn't a Japanese or Toho character. He's American. And he was done by Universal.
Mm-hmm.
So the question becomes who wins now when they fight. Now in the older movies it always tended to be a draw. They never actually King Kong never killed Godzilla, Godzilla never killed King Kong. It was just either they stopped or the humans got in the way and they both got jacked up, but you never had one standing over the other.
Well, in King Kong versus Godzilla, the original one, they were fighting, ended up in the water. Godzilla didn't come up, and King Kong did. So you just assumed that he killed him. Yeah. And then Godzilla walks off in the ocean and heads back towards Skull Mountain or Skull Island. Yeah. So did he win? I mean, he was the last man standing.
Well, that's the best you could do in that situation.
Yeah. But again, he was crispily, crackly, goodness because Godzilla was in the business.
Well, and so what I'm thinking is going to happen in this one, because all of those monsters are heading towards that one place, is that it's going to be one of those things where they're fighting and then something else shows up and they both team up to fight it.
That would be dope. But then they're going to have a showdown because who's going to be the king?
Well, it can be a dual monarchy.
But we already know from watching Skull Island that King Kong is not about. He's not violent. He's violent when you mess with me, I mess with you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And Godzilla's pretty much the type of monster who's like, all right, you about to start drama. Let me kill you before you even get yourself started.
Right. So yeah, King Kong's always been, if you don't mess with me, I won't mess with you.
Because if the humans would never mess with him, he wouldn't have no reason to come over here and mess with Godzilla.
True. Well, and that's the thing is that every time King Kong ends up going on a rampage is because some knuckleheaded genius figures, ooh, let's bring that back to civilization.
And you know what's funny? You bringing up Skull Island, dude? I'm surprised they didn't use the tactics in every other King Kong movie when they got him drunk in order to put him on a boat.
Oh, yeah. Man. Yeah.
Give him the African jelly. It'll put him to sleep.
Well, they tried the girl aspect again, but Brie Larson ain't no Fay Ray.
And he didn't even fall in love with her. He was just kind of intrigued that, and trying to protect her. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to fall off a building for you. Nah.
Yeah, nah. He fell off a building for Faye. Let's see what else. But no, the special effects were great in this thing.
Man. Like I said, the fire from Rodan, or lack of thereof, the wind from Rodan, the CGI that they used for Mothra was amazing, man. Because Mothra's a butterfly, or a mothfly with a stinger. I don't know. Anyway, but
I think
just the fact that all the colors that they had radiating off of Mothra, it was beautiful, man. It was dope. And then even in the fight scenes, it didn't get overshadowed by all the dirt and the buildings crashing down and all the the stuff coming off of Rodan and all that stuff. It didn't get overshadowed by that. You could still see it while they were fighting because it was so bright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it was cool. It was a really good movie, man. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad we chose to do this one, so I got to watch it again.
Yeah, no,
It's one of the movies like when it's on, you have to watch it.
Yeah,
but it's not one of the movies you be like, all right, what I'm gonna do today? I think I'll watch Godzilla. It's not one of those movies.
right, exactly. But I mean, it goes by quickly. I mean, it doesn't really bog down because they throw so much Godzilla at you in this one.
And it's a 2 hour movie too.
Yeah, and it goes by really pretty
Yeah.
fast.
I was watching. I was like, wait a minute, what just happened? Who's here now? Okay, what happened? I don't remember what happened like 15 minutes ago. So
well, and then like we said, they they leave you with your next movie. Now my thing is I still need to see Gamera and I need Mecha Godzilla.
Yes. Now, if they introduce those characters, now Gamera is from the same studio, but not Gamera's never fought Godzilla.
Yeah.
Whole different monster.
Yeah.
And in case for those listening who don't know, Gamera is a turtle monster with fangs that can spin around and use its fire to fly out of shell.
Fire comes out of its shell.
But the fire comes out the holes and it spins around, and yes, it's awesome, man. It's old school. It's dope. It's dope. So,
well, I would dig Mecha Godzilla. Or there was another one. Was it? It was like a robot Ghidorah, wasn't it? Wasn't there one that was a robot Ghidorah?
Yeah, it was a robot Ghidorah too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because remember, the aliens are the ones who made Mecha Godzilla because Godzilla was the only thing that stopped them from taking over the world. So they made their own to fight Godzilla.
Right. That's what it was.
And they made but see, when they did the Mecha Ghidorah, that's when Rodan, Godzilla, and Ghidorah pretty much teamed up to fight those robots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're on the moon.
They weren't like we're not friends, but we got to stop this cat over here though.
Yeah, so, I remember that because it was called wasn't that one called King of All Monsters?
I think it was.
Yeah, they were on the moon. They teleported all the monsters up to the moon.
Yeah,
and they fought up there.
Yeah, which again doesn't.
Yeah, how are you gonna breathe? I'm just saying.
Anyway,
so why don't we wrap it there? All right, so everybody, this is Dragon Wolf Tech and
Mr. Doja, Mr. Dodo with that Flodo. And y'all, man, hold on. For all y'all listening, man, I know y'all enjoy the podcast, but y'all, man, check out my video, old head video, man, the single, YouTube, man. Come on now, follow your boy.
We're gonna attach it to the end of to this video, so go over there, support Mr. Doja, hit that like button, subscribe, and while you're at it, buy a copy.
Sure. I'll just listen to it. You ain't got to buy a copy, man. Listen to it.
Buy a copy. Come on. All right. Anyway, that's it for this episode, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Out.
Peace.